Jay of Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. We're live, and apologies for being a little bit late as well. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient and understanding in the comments. Although a few people saying Joe wouldn't be this late, well, you're all getting blocked. We've got a load of stories to get through. We're going to talk about transfer rumours. We're going to talk about the Glazers. Unfortunately, we've got to. We're also going to be talking as well about this exodus that could be on the cards this summer for Erik ten Hag's squad. And also, we'll get into a little bit of this whole Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, combined 11, back and forth, all this nonsense. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but mainly you need to get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about all these stories, any of these stories. If you've got any transfer rumours or any other rumours or any takeover stories you want to share with us, then please do get involved. I'll get involved in some of the chats already. Danny Inns, Magnum Skywolf, Definio, Music Ali, Jay Cowder, Jays Parker, Eli Harrison says, "Evening, Jay. Finally, I think it was you that was saying Joe would never be this late, wasn't you?" Someone else saying they'd get sacked if they were as late as I was today, but no one's sacking me, man. Come on. They know better than that. Music Ali says, "Morning, Jay. Head looking extra shiny." Thank you. Muy Simpatico says, "New camera looks great." Yeah, we've gone for a bit of a different look today. I hope you don't mind my grid being a bit closer to yours. I hope you're okay with it. Matthew Coward says, "I'm not patient or understanding, Jay." Fair enough. R1 says, "Morning, mate. People are so impatient. Lol. I'm the worst for it. I can be very impatient." Listen, despite my lateness, hopefully you can give us a like. Chuck a like on the video and we'll get into it as well. Right, the first thing we'll talk about, we talk about this exodus, this release of several players from the Manchester United squad. The Evening News have got the story there. You can see it by Stephen Railston, is it? It says here, United set to release 5 players. Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe are expected to be among the 5 players released in the summer. I think it says, let me just have a little but look who else is on the horizon. So you've got Axel Tuanzebe, you've got Phil Jones, you've got Ethan Galbraith, who's on loan at Salford, at League 2 side Salford. I went to see him not long ago. He did well as well. He scored, actually, for Salford when I went to see them. Although we were late because I had a bit of an issue parking, but I don't need to get into that. Also says, Academy goalkeeper Andre Masne and Charlie Wellings are also likely to go after short loans with Portadown over Oldham Athletic. Spanish striker Mateo Mejia's future is also uncertain. So there's a few there. There's also Tom Heaton's been named, Nathan Bishop's been named, but there's probably going to be more than that in there, if we're being brutally honest. With what's happening with Donny van der Beek, we don't know. Wout Weghorst isn't going to get his contract renewed. I think we have to be honest about that. Marcel Sabitzer, who's just picked up a knock. I know he's a loanee, but is he going to go? Is he going to get his contract, or is he going to get a permanent deal? I doubt it, to be honest with you, because I think this injury could have just scuppered him. Plus, there's question marks around some other players. What's happening with Diallo? What's going to happen with Palestri? Is he going to go out on loan? Is he going to stay? What's happening with Anthony Martial? Even, some may argue, not me, some may argue, there could be something with Jadon Sancho. I might be being a little bit melodramatic there, but maybe there is something if there was an offer on the table. I don't know. I just think there could be a few players that go out that we're not expecting. George Jones, welcome to the first team. Thanks for joining the first team, the membership. You get extra content if you become a member. Go and check out the members section. We've got a video there of the Jimmy Murphy statue unveiling. It's great to see Jimmy Murphy getting his statue, by the way. Long overdue. Yeah, let us know in the chat and the comments. Who do you think needs to go this summer? I know I've named a load of players there, but one thing we need to sort of work out is how much money is going to be brought in by these players. Harry Maguire's another one I should have mentioned, because he's one you think would fetch a bit of money. Might not be loads, but you get something for him, and also he looks like he's surplus to requirements. Then there's the likes of Eric Bailly, Alex Telles, Brandon Williams. Are all them lot going to be moved on? You would think so, wouldn't you? I think a lot of these players that I've just mentioned, they're barely getting in the first team. Some of them haven't. I don't even think they've played this season. So the likes of Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe, that's a given, but others you're not so sure about. Romano did a tweet about Phil Jones. You can see it there. It says, Phil Jones will leave Manchester United at the end of the current season. Decision confirmed. The club will release the centre-back on free transfer. It's not a surprise, is it? And it's obvious he probably needed to go about 2 or 3 years ago, if we're being brutally honest. There was a time when I felt really sorry for Phil Jones, and I still have a little bit of sympathy for him because he used to get so much stick, and I thought a lot of it was unwarranted. I remember, I think it was Twitter, the actual official Twitter account, and this is before Elon Musk took over. I think now you get all sorts on there, but this was a few years ago, and he tweeted, name as a player better than Phil Jones will wait, and I think that was obviously aimed as a dig at him. And I remember getting a bit annoyed because I was like, listen, you might not rate Phil Jones or think of him that highly, but this is a player that's won a Premier League. He's won as many Premier League trophies as Liverpool have. He's won a European trophy. He's won as many European trophies as City have, at the minute anyway. He's played more times for England than most of the pundits you see on there, on the telly. You look at people like Chris Sutton, Jermaine Jennings, people like that. I'm not knocking those lads, but Phil Jones has got more England caps than any of them. He's won more trophies than any of them. So whilst it's easy to knock him and have a dig at him, he has had a good career up to a point. I think the issue has been the last few years where it's just gone horribly wrong. Injuries obviously played a part. There was talk about him struggling with his mental health. I think he admitted that as well. I'm always sympathetic to anyone who's going through mental health struggles. I think the problem has been the last sort of year, 18 months. He's not even been training from what I gather. I don't even think Erik ten Hag's seen him. So it's like, why is he still on the books? And that's not his fault. He was given a contract he shouldn't have been given, obviously on a big wage. Difficult for the club to move him on. Going through some struggles as well. I, for one, I'm not going to pretend that Phil Jones is one of our greatest ever players, although Fergie said he could be one at one time. But I wish him well. I do. I think it's unfortunate for the kid the way it's worked out. And I hope he goes on and, has a career or has some games somewhere else because he's only, 30, 31 or something? He's not that old. I think he's still got some football left in him. Real Reds Talk says, end of an era, Sir Phil of Jones is gone. Always good to see Real Reds Talk. Go and check out their channel if you've not done already. Great set of lads. Always have a good chat with him. We've had him on the channel as well, Sam and Nick, good lads. Jay Frasconi says, good morning, Jay. Do you think the renewed interest in Rabiot is related to Sabitz's injury, or can you see them both here next season? How many players can realistically all go out at once? Interested in your thoughts. Very good question. I think we can have a massive call, to be honest with you. I think, can we do the quick maths? Should we do it, right? So you're going to have Maguire, Eric Bailly, Alex Telles, Brandon Williams, Wout Weghorst, if we can count him, maybe Donny van der Beek, the keepers that we mentioned, Tom Eaton and Bishop, Phil Jones, Axel Tuanzebe. There's 10. I'm probably missing someone. Then there's a few with question marks. Scott McTominay, is he going to go? Fred, is he going to go? Martial even. There's, is someone going to go out on loan? Is Palestra going to go out on loan? Is Diallo going to get another loan move? You could probably look at about 13, 14 players potentially that could be moving on. I mean, this could be the second summer where a lot of players have left. Last summer we lost the likes of Cavani, Pogba, Lingard. Then we obviously lost Ronaldo once the season kicked off. So it's all part of the process. I'm old enough to remember when Sir Alex Ferguson took over, and Fergie did it sort of summer by summer or bit by bit. When he arrived, there were certain players that he obviously wanted and he wanted to keep and he rated. And there were certain players that just probably weren't up to standard, weren't good enough, the likes of Peter Davenport and Terry Gibson and players like that, Chris Turner, and he moved them on. But he didn't do it all at once, he did it gradually. And he made signings, he brought in players like Neil Webb, like Danny Wallace, like Gary Pallister. Some of these players were successful, some of them weren't. But it was a gradual process. I think he brought in, Mark Hughes came back to the club as well. Then you got into the sort of, you won the FA Cup, you started making more signings, Paul Parker, Andrei Kanchelskis, Peter Schmeichel, and then you went Eric Cantona, the icing on the cake. Then you're into your title winning team. So it does take a little while. It took Fergie a few years because he came in 86. We won our first trophy in 1990, won our first Premier League in 1993. So it does take a little bit of time to get that sorted. You look at what Jurgen Klopp did. It took him a few years, didn't it, before he won his first trophy, a few years before he won his first title. Pep Guardiola, it was slightly different because let's not forget, Pep Guardiola inherited a team that had won 2 of the last 4 titles, I think. So they'd had a lot of success. At United, it's different. We haven't won a title for 10 years. We just finished 6th. Erik ten Hag has got a bigger rebuilding job to do. And he's also got a lot of players who are surplus to requirements, who are on big contracts. It's difficult to get players moved on when they're on massive money because a lot of them don't want to move on because they're going to have to take a big pay cut. So he's got a lot to work on there and he's doing it. I like the way he's gone about his business. Santa Notch says Fergie also did it gradually as he was needing time to implement his scouting policy and infrastructure. Great point there by Notch, as always. With Fergie, it wasn't just, I saw a Q&A with him with Dan Walker and he said it wasn't about the team, it was about the club. When he came to United, one of the first things he spoke about was changing the club, not just the first team. Some managers, they only focus on the first team. I think Jose was pretty much just about the first team. Fergie was big on the academy, big on the scouting network. He tripled the amount of scouts that we had. City used to have far more scouts than Manchester United. Remember Eric Harrison saying that. I think he's in the Class of 92 documentary. Fergie tripled it. He wanted scouts everywhere. He wanted us to have the best academy, and he was successful in that. And that's what Eric Ten Hag needs to do. He needs to build up from everywhere, not just the first team, but the infrastructure as well, getting that scouting sorted, getting that academy up to scratch. And I think that's been a big part of his success at Ajax, and hopefully can be a big part of his success at Manchester United as well. Ben Kirby sent a super chat with nothing on it, but thanks for your support anyway. Santanot says, correct, Jay. Thank you, brother. I always love it when Santanot comes in because I'm a bit vague at certain areas, but he always knows his stuff, and that's not calling him old, by the way. That's just that is a compliment. Ryan Milligan says, where is that legacy now? It's not gone. I think you look at this Manchester United you see now, the fact that Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I know we've sort of fallen behind with the Glazers, but you know, the success we've had and the size of the club is all down to, a lot of it's down to Sir Alex Ferguson as well, and Matt Busby before him. Right, should we move on? Should we talk about some links of players coming in? I will get to the Glazers and the Takeover stuff in a minute. I know that's a hot topic. We've been linked with a goalkeeper. Now, this is this kid from Dortmund. United, considering, there's a headline that always makes me think, well, this is going to happen. Considering, in inverted commas, it says United considering Dortmund keeper. United considering a move for Dortmund goalkeeper Gregor Kobel, according to The Independent. De Gea is expected to sign a new deal with reduced terms before his contract expires next month, but his status as United's number one next season is uncertain due to his recent displays. The article claims that although Ten Hag wants the Spanish goalkeeper to stay, he's also intent on creating competition and ensuring he has different tactical options. Get involved if you know a lot about this kid, because I don't. Is he any good? Do you rate him? Would you have him as United's number one? He's 25 years old, so in goalkeeping terms, talk about in football terms, still quite young, obviously highly respected. He's a Swiss international, if that means a lot to you. No disrespect to the Switzerland national team. I don't think that nails on the fact that you're going to be good enough to play for Manchester United. But the whole goalkeeper debate issue has been rearing its head quite a lot this season. David De Gea, as the article mentioned, not always been at the races as he this season, if we're being brutally honest. And there's also this question mark of, can he play in an Eric Ten Hag team with the system that Eric Ten Hag wants to play? Where do you think he fits in? Do you see him moving on? Do you see him being number two? David De Gea I'm talking about. Do you see him staying as the number one, or do you see him being a bit of rotation? Maybe it's Gregor Kobel, maybe it's someone else. We have been linked with the likes of David Raya, of course, from Brentford. There's a couple of other sort of transfer rumours with goalkeepers doing the rounds. Paul Gill, who's been a member of the academy for 6 months, says, morning, Jay. Good to catch you on the live. Like the video, people. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, do hit that like button. What else have we got here? Malp saying Costa is the guy. I've not seen a lot of Diogo. Excuse me. I believe you're saying Diogo Costa, unless you were massively impressed with Diego Costa at the weekend, which I doubt. Yeah, Diogo Costa has been linked with United, hasn't he? I think this has been going on. He's very young for a goalkeeper. He's 23. Obviously, doing bits. I think I said he was at Benfica the other day. Forgive me, he's at Porto, wasn't he? Plays for the Portuguese national team. Didn't have a great World Cup, if we're being honest. But I always say I don't think the World Cup can cement or should be the indicator, or the way you sort of assess a player should be based on a World Cup, if I can get my words out. I don't think that's a good look, because some players have a great World Cup and sometimes they're playing against teams that have players who are League One level. Sometimes you have that in a World Cup. We've seen it. You can have teams that have got players in like League One sort of standard, and you can shine against them. You come in the Premier League, you're nowhere near good enough. We've had players at this club who've won the World Cup who ain't been good enough. See if you can guess who I'm talking about. Get involved in the chat in the comments if you know who I'm talking about. I'll give you a clue. It's not Pogba. Yeah. I'm going to have a little look at what people are saying. Tom Mills says Martinez or David Raya. I'd say we've been linked with. We've been linked with Emi Martinez, haven't we? Yep. He's a bit erratic, but I do like the fact he commands his area. I just don't know if he can be that guy. I don't know. I'm not sure. Jamie Gillespie says Larry White. That's a good answer. I wasn't even thinking of him, but yep, you're right. Musicali says Schweinsteiger. These are all good answers. I wasn't thinking about them at all, but I was thinking of someone else. It was a Brazilian. Damien G6 says, Jay watching from New Zealand, we need to bring Ahmad back and loan Sancho. That'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it? Loaning out Jadon Sancho, possibly. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. Ben Kirby, whoops, so many players potentially leaving with Champions League coming next year. Will we have enough depth, or will we have the depth? Are any of the youth good enough to fill in gaps? How many do we expect to buy? All very, very pertinent questions. One player we've been linked with is this kid from Napoli, isn't he? This story doing the rounds. Manchester United closing in on the signing of £52 million Napoli defender Min Jae as Eric Ten Hag targets the Serie A winner to boost his defence. Now, you can see it is, as the 26-year-old South Korean centre-back has enjoyed an excellent season as Napoli ended their 33-year wait, to win the Serie A title. Now, I don't know a lot about this kid. So get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think, because we've been linked with him. There's even reports that this is almost a done deal, that it's nailed on, it's going to happen, and that he's ready to come, and there's been talks and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know how reliable those sources are. It says here, the Naples-based outlet Il Mattino report it's only a matter of sorting out the details of Kim's transfer to Old Trafford, with the Italian champions already scoping out replacements. They're acting like it's already a done deal. Now, he's had a very, very good season at Napoli, obviously winning the title. He's been one of the reasons behind that. Highly respected. Before that, he was at Fenerbahce for a year. Before that, he was in the Chinese Super League. Now, he's 26. So he's had a very good sort of 2 seasons, a very, very good season this season, a decent one in Turkey as well. He's almost in that category of Virgil van Dijk. I don't mean the way he plays or ability levels. I mean a bit of a late bloomer almost. Because sometimes defenders like Rio Ferdinand, for example, when they're in like the early 20s, everyone wants him, everyone raves about him. They're being touted as the next big thing, and big clubs are coming in for him. He's not like that. It's not until he's got into his mid-20s when he's really started doing bits. Does that put you off at all? Just curious. Does anyone look at it and go, okay, well, when he was, 23, 24, he was playing in the Chinese Super League. Is that an indication that he's probably wasn't at those levels that we'd want? Or is that a case of players just improving and getting better? And is there a scope that he could get even better if he comes to Manchester United? Let me know. I haven't seen a lot of him. I've seen a little bit of him. Been impressed with what I see, but I haven't seen a lot. So let me know. Maybe there's a deal to be made there where if you are going to sell all the players that I mentioned earlier, the likes of Maguire, the likes of Donny van der Beek, the likes of Telles, Bailly, all the rest of it, that brings in a bit of money. Some of that money could be used to perhaps fund bringing in Min Jae. He comes in as well. We'll have to wait and see. I think when you look at it, you do need a backup centre-back that you can rely on, because Rafael Varane does get injured. We know that. Lisandro Martinez doesn't tend to miss many games. It's just been unfortunate that he got that injury this time round. But you do need options. Now, you've got Victor Lindelof, you've got Harry Maguire. I don't see Victor Lindelof going anywhere, although he was linked with Inter Milan not so long ago. Harry Maguire, I think, is nailed on to leave in the summer. So let's have a look. Chris Bushnell says, Amad Diallo backs for next season. What we're thinking? I'd love to see that. Love to see Amad Diallo come back. Fantastic young player. Z3 Music Official, doesn't bother me at all. Look at Vardy, really good point here, and how late he bloomed. Just as a side, did anyone see the Leicester-Liverpool game last night? I watched a bit of it. Leicester, I think they're going down, aren't they? They were terrible. Absolutely shocking. I'm just relieved that we're not relying on other teams to do us a favour, because I can see Liverpool winning all the rest of their games. Genuinely, I think they just hit the form. The funny thing would be if they were to win the last 10 games or whatever and still not get Champions League football. I'd find it funny anyway. I don't know about you. Just got to make sure we do our bit. Right, should we talk about this Glazer hotel visit? Because this sent everyone into a frenzy. You can see it here. I think we got it from the Mirror. It says, Avram Glazer pictured at hotel owned by Sheikh Jassim's father amid Manchester United takeover bid. It says, Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is trying to complete a takeover of Manchester United from the Glazer family, but faces competition from Ineos chief Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. I can say, Manchester United co-chair Avram Glazer has been spotted leaving a hotel owned by takeover hopeful Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani's father. Glazer was pictured outside of Claridge's Hotel in London on Monday. The photographs will fuel speculation that Sheikh Jassim is still in the race to become the next owner of the Red Devils, although Mirror Football understands is a race he will lose. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos group remain very confident that they will be given preferred bidder status in the coming days following recent communication with the Rain Group, the New York-based merchant bank overseeing the sale process. I will say this, right, about this. He says it here. Sheikh Jassim's father, Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabbar Al Thani, owns the Maybourne Hotel Group, which is the parent company of Claridge's. Glazer was pictured walking out the building in Mayfair before entering a Mercedes. I think they own a lot of buildings down in London, Sheikh Jassim's father and his family. So it's not like he owns one hotel and that's the hotel that, I always get mixed up, I don't really care, Avram Glazer was staying in. Because then you'd look in, you go, okay, maybe there's something in that. They own a lot of property in London. They own a lot of hotels. They own that Maybourne Hotel Group, which is a lot of posh hotels in it in Mayfair. The sort of hotels I don't stay in. I'm usually a B&B type of guy. I don't know about you. So I don't think you can look too much into this. This doesn't seem to me like Avram Glazer has gone to this hotel to meet Sheikh Jassim, even being honest. We know he was down for the Women's FA Cup final. We'll presume he was down there for that. Staying in a posh hotel happens to be owned by Sheikh Jassim's father, who owns a lot of hotels in London. It does seem unlikely that this is a meeting for the takeover of Manchester United Football Club. Get involved in the chat in the comments. I am not ITK, I don't know. I just feel the logical explanation there would be he's just staying in a hotel that's owned by Sheikh Jassim's dad. You may disagree. Jay Parker says, Jay sounds like he's making up Sheikh Jassim's dad's name. I'm trying my best. I'm not making it up. I'm reading it as I see it. So forgive me if I've butchered that one, but that's how I see it. Blood Moon says, you're IDK. I don't know. Listen, I have journalists that I respect and trust. I go off what they say. So if I see an article and it's by a certain journalist, and I know that journalist, and I know they do their due diligence and they have good sources, I'll believe it. If I see it by another journalist who's been wrong in the past, I'm not likely to believe it. But me personally, I'm not one of those guys who's getting text messages off players or agents or anyone saying this is what's happening. I'm not. So I'm not going to start pretending I am, because it does me when people do that. Tom Mills says, if Kane stays, who do we get, Jay? Victor Osimhen's got to be the next one on the list, isn't he? But who knows? I'm a little bit worried. I want to get into that as well. I want to talk about the fact that we may miss out on some targets because this takeover has been dragging on. There's talk that we could miss out on targets. The back of the papers this morning was sort of focusing on that. Now, you might see there in all this nonsense about Liverpool, you can see on the Mirror Sport there, it says Ten Hag, summer spree rocked as sale drags on. And then on the back of the other papers, I think it's the Express, can't even tell, sorry. Ten Hag's targets on hold. So the fact that this sale is dragging on, it's going to affect our transfer targets in the summer, because we can't make these deals happen. We can't buy these players. We can't say, right, let's go and make this deal, because we're still waiting to find out who the owner's going to be, to find out what the budget's going to be. And that would be a final FU from the Glazers, wouldn't it? If they not only messed up about 18 previous seasons, even the successful ones were in spite of them, not because of them, but also leave us in the lurch in the final season just because they leave, because they're dragging their heels over this deal. It would be the final insult. It really would. The sooner the Glazers go, the better. They've just been nothing but bad for Manchester United. And even now, as we get near the end, they're still affecting this club in a negative way, because Erik Ten Hag can't go out and make the transfers or get the players in he wants to get in, or, start making moves towards them, because we don't know what the budget's going to be, because the Glazers are still trying to squeeze that last little penny out of Manchester United Football Club with all these shenanigans with these bids. It's absolutely infuriating. Get involved in the comments. Paul Lucas says, the final slap in the face. Fatty says, and that's his name, not me calling him Fatty, 6 hotels they own, so he's talking about the Sheikh Jassim's family. Red UK says, I feel your anger, Jay. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, it's just infuriating. Edgar J says they are not selling. Lol, don't do it to me. Honestly, I think I don't even want to entertain that idea. I've actually always thought they were going to sell since that statement came out and since the noises we've been hearing. But can you imagine if they didn't? It's not bare thinking about. Hit the like button, people. Should we talk a little bit about this whole Jamie Carragher thing? It's been dragging on a little bit, this, hasn't it? Right, there was the little bit between Rio Ferdinand and Jamie Carragher. If you didn't see it last week, when I think it was Inter played AC Milan, Rio Ferdinand said that he felt there was a penalty that wasn't a penalty. Jamie Carragher called him a clown. Rio Ferdinand waited a few days and then responded. And I think we've got what he responded with as well, because it was pretty hilarious, to be honest with you. After Jamie Carragher called Rio Ferdinand a clown, here's what Rio had to say for it.
I said before, he's a friend of the show. Every time I see him, it's all love, man. I don't understand why he came with the hostility. We see each other, it's all cool. He used to carry my boots when we were with England and stuff like that. Always showed me love.
Right. That is excellent. That is excellent trolling by Rio there, because it wasn't even like, just proper calm. Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. It's all love. And the way he dropped that as well. He used to carry my boots when we were in England. It's like, wow. Nicely done, Mr. Ferdinand. Yeah, so a little bit of back and forth there with Rio and Jamie Carragher. But as Rio says, it's all love. But I love that line about he used to carry my boots. When we were in England, talk about, damn him with faint praise. Right. Also on the Jamie Carragher front, there was this thing on Sky Sports last night. And I don't like combined 11s, right? They do my head in. I know you might say, well, Jay, you did one with the Spurs channel the other week. We did one. I didn't like it. And I actually felt a bit sorry for the Spurs lads, because when we were doing this combined 11, at one point, it looked like it was going to be an entire United team and just Harry Kane. But they're not for me, combined 11s, because it's just, it's pointless. You're always going to be dead biased. And also, it's not scientific. It doesn't prove anything. If you can't go, well, that shows that such a player is better than another player. Jamie Carragher did his combined 11. This is between the 99 team and the City team this season, who could potentially win a treble. Now, the big sort of talking point there was he put Gundogan over Paul Scholes. He kind of moved things around on it by putting De Bruyne almost as a false nine or whatever. And that was a bit like, what you on about? Listen, I rate Ilkay Gundogan. I think he's a very good player, but he's not in Paul Scholes' class at all, and I think that's just nonsensical. But this sort of, what I did like though is Gary Neville did his. The first one Gary Neville did, if we've got that, we can have a look at Gary Neville's team, because this is the sort of thing that you do. He just went with the entire 99 team, although he did do another one later on as well, but he just said, listen, until City win the treble, I'm going to go with a team that did. So he named the entire 99 team. But the whole thing with Carragher, and I know, like, listen, the thing combined level, it's all combined 11s, it's all subjective. Everyone has different opinions, but we see this time and time again, and like with Scholes getting dropped out of that one, we've seen other teams where we look at it and you look at it and you go, oh, well, he wasn't that good when you're doing combined 11s. Scholes wasn't that good. Giggs wasn't that good. Gary Neville wasn't that good. It's like everyone, when they look at the teams under Sir Alex Ferguson, when they look at the 99 team in particular, they act like it was just full of players that were all right, that weren't that good. There's a reason that at this moment, the 99 team is the only team to do the treble in England. It's because it's one of the greatest teams ever. Yet that team constantly gets disrespected. You look at Andy Cole, for example. We had Andy Cole on the channel and we spoke to him, and he was talking about the fact that he gets ignored. When people are talking about the Premier League's greatest ever strikers, they hardly ever mention him. Yeah, I think is he fourth in the all-time top scorers list, somewhere like that. Even the other day, when Erling Haaland broke the record that was set by both Andy Cole and Alan Shearer, everyone was acting like it was just Alan Shearer's record. Even Shearer was. You remember him and Gary Lineker talking about it? And it's like, yeah, Erling Haaland's broke my record. And oh yeah, Alan Shearer, Gary Lineker saying to Alan Shearer, how do you feel now he's broke your record? Hang on a minute. Andy Cole had the same amount of goals as Alan Shearer that season, or in that one season. Also, Andy Cole didn't take any penalties. Yet he gets disrespected. People like Ryan Giggs won 13 Premier League titles because he was lucky. People like Paul Scholes won however many he won, was it 10 or whatever, because he was lucky. Same with Gary Neville. You don't win that amount of trophies unless you're an amazing footballer. Yet there's always been this dismissal of the 99 team, and also of Fergie. It's like he was just some fortunate manager who had to stumble into 13 Premier League titles and 2 Champions Leagues. We had Noel Gallagher with his nonsense the other day saying he's never done it in another country, even though he was one of the most successful managers ever to manage in Scotland, the last manager ever to win a European final against Real Madrid, the last Scottish manager to win a European trophy, the last Scottish manager to win a title who didn't manage Rangers or Celtic. So this whole thing about the 99 team and the manager not being that great, it is a nonsense. We know how good they were. I do because I saw it. And right now, they're the only team to win a treble. And let's hope it stays that way. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Glenn Castle says, yes, agree, York and Cole were class. Danny Tarr says, disrespected because everyone wants to forget about United. They do, but they can't. Listen, doesn't matter what happens, we'll still be the first team in England that ever won the treble. Just like we're the first team in England that ever won the European Cup. Just like we're the first team in England that ever won the Premier League. Don't ever forget that. Listen, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments in the chat. It was a really good discussion. We're back later on. We've got loads of videos coming up. So we'll have tactical videos, we'll have all the podcasts, all that stuff. If you've not done it already, go and check out the Paddock podcast with me and Joe from yesterday. Loads more content coming up though, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. And just before I go, I want to wish a special happy birthday to Rory Grosvenor. His dad, Ant, is a good mate of mine. He's an absolute legend. Rory, a big fan of the channel. It's his 10th birthday today, so I hope you have a smashing birthday. I hope your dad treats you as well. Marcus Rashford's his favourite player, so hopefully Marcus will be back in the team for Bournemouth, banging in the goals, helping Manchester United cement that top four, because that'd be a good bit.